Hi, I'm Heather Forbes, and I'm the author of Helpfulability in Classroom 180. In this video, I'm going to give you a demonstration of how to use our online rubric. So let me share my screen here. So we're going to start a new observation. We're going to be watching a third grade classroom, and we'll be watching Mrs. Y. The topic will be vocabulary. I'm going to hit the save button. And here we enter into the first part of the rubric. When we first come in here, you'll see that we have the room scan. You'll see domain 1, domain 2, domain 4, and domain 5. There's no domain 3 because that is language of trauma. So to demonstrate the rubric, I'm going to take you into a classroom. And so this is as if you are with me sitting down in a classroom. You have your laptop to be able to put all your notes into the online rubric. But this is also as if we're sitting there watching the teacher. So let's go in and pop in here and watch what she's doing at first.
When I say go, we're coming to the meeting spot without our voice. Everyone heard that part? And picking a seat we can sit the whole time without messing around. Okay, without your voice, go. 10, 9, 8, 7.
All right, I'm going to pause it just there. And let's go back to the rubric. So here we're back in the rubric. We want to get out of the room scan and go to the observe. What you'll see is a plus button. Here we can actually put down the dialogue to give us evidence of what she was doing to help make this transition. And you heard her say 10, 9, 8, 7, and we'll put a ... Students didn't say anything because she asked them to do it quietly. So now we're going to hit save, and we have the dialogue for the first part that we've seen right now. So let's pop back into the classroom, and you'll see that she now has the students sitting down. They're raising their hands, and let's see what she's asking them.
Turn and talk to your neighbor. Which of those words means power?
And now we'll want to record what she said to the students because it does have an impact on student-to-student relationships. She said, turn and talk to your neighbor. When we're in the classroom, we don't want to think about which domain this is going to go into, but we just want to collect the evidence. This rubric gives us the ability to simply watch, observe, and type in all the evidence that we're seeing.
Which word?
Energy.
Energy, everyone agrees. I agree with that. Eddie, you want to be my assistant? Energy. Who has an action that shows energy or power?
All right, so we heard her ask if Eddie wanted to be her assistant. So Eddie, do you want to be my assistant? And if you're familiar with Classroom 180, this is important because that is a class job.
0. All right, class.
Yes.
Slide here.
Slide here.
First word. Underground. Beneath the surface of the earth.
Beneath the surface of...
All right, so we'll want to record what she just said there. Class. Yes. The students said in return. What we just observed is the students using hand motions and standing up while they're learning. So we'll want to note that. This little notepad here gives us the ability to be able to put other observations that may not fit into the room scan or into the observe. So we will put here groups of 2 standing together with hand motions. I also observed in the classroom a few things that I want to note on the room scan. She had a lovely little umbrella in the corner. So I'm going to put that down here because that defines a nice space probably for reading and other activities. I also want to go into domain 2 for regulation because she was using movement. And so I'm going to go ahead and check that mark off here to say movement. And then I can add also this little plus button gives me the ability to give a little explanation of that. So they were using movement to learn vocabulary words.
How are they working? Marion? Silently. Everyone, a thumbs up if you agree. Good. I'll put this picture best.
Okay, I also want to note that she's using visuals as a way to help students learn. So I'm going to type that in here. She's also creating with the class the vocab word. So creating the vocabulary wall with the class, not just on her own, but that's a classroom family activity. And then she also said, I'm going to put this into the observe. See, I can move back and forth so easily. I'm going to say thumbs up if you agree. And then the students say nothing, but they put their thumbs up. So the first line is what the teacher is asking. And then the second line is the student response. You can also go into the observe and switch that so that maybe the student says something first and then the teacher's action is after that. So you would probably stay in the classroom about 15 to 20 minutes and then be able to put in the items in the room scan, the different domains, continue with the observation, and then add in more observations over here. These reflective questions go on the basis of just sort of understanding what it feels like to be in that classroom. For instance, if I'm Billy, do I feel like I belong on this first question? And yes, I think absolutely. Teacher did a wonderful job of creating a family culture. And you would want to go through these questions and say, for instance, on this one, under student to student relationships, do I feel connected to my classmates or do I feel like an outsider? I think that they definitely feel connected because why? She did a lot of group activities, partners, neighbors. And so there was a lot of effort to make sure the kids felt connected to one another. Once you are done with your observation, you want to leave the classroom, go back to your office, open up your computer and hit consolidate. Now this first part you'll see are the room scan indicators. These are the items that we just checked off, like the colors were subdued. And it's automatically going to map it to which domain and then which component. The next section are the other observations. These were the ones that we typed in to that little notepad. And so this is where we're going to now map the items that we observed into which domain. So here we go. Groups of two standing together with hand motions. So I would say that that is definitely part of family culture, is building student to student relationships. So I would put it then for domain 1 and component number 3. Now the beauty of this is that you may not remember exactly what component. And so when we see the umbrella, well, that is definitely part of the physical environment. But you know what it also creates? It also creates a place that we can connect together. So for me, that's also part of family culture. And so you see then you can have duplicates. These indicators can fall under different domains together and then different components. She also used visuals, which is all about regulation. And so I would put that under component 6, universal proactive supports. Create the vocab with the class. So they're creating this wall together. That is definitely a family culture activity. It's not something she just came in and did herself, but we did it as a group activity. So that is a family culture activity, which then would be domain 1, component 1. This third section is the dialogue that we were typing. So when the teacher said 10, 9, 8, 7, definitely under regulation for transitional support, component 7. Turn and talk to your neighbor. That's definitely family culture. But I would also click on that again and say that's also student to student relationships. And so you see that we're mapping it out to 2 different components. Eddie, do you want to be my assistant? Oh, that goes under domain 5, because that is where we build self-image and give students jobs, we give them purpose. So that is component 26. Class, 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 yes, yes, yes. Definitely another great transitional support. Once you've completed mapping out each of your indicators to which component they go to, we'll want to go up here to debrief. Now, this is kind of where the magic happens. If you are familiar with Classroom 180, this rubric should look very familiar to the paper version. And what this online rubric does for you, it brings over each of these indicators, this evidence that you have now is put into the categories that they belong. Under family culture, you see all the items that we found in the evidence for the family culture. For student to student relationships, physical environment, the universal proactive supports, the transitional support, all of this is right here. So now this is where I would sit down with the teacher and we would collaborate together. And so everything is right here. And I would say, you know, in your classroom, family culture was looking great. These are the indicators that I saw. And then she or he would have a chance to say, well, you know, I also do this. And there's a little plus button here. And there's a list of things that maybe that their teacher may indicate that she's doing. She's like, okay, well, you know what? I hold regular family meetings. So I could click that there, and then it would add it in right there. And I could ask her maybe for some things that I didn't see. I didn't see anything, of course, about teacher-parent relationships, but I could ask her, what are the things that you do to really build component 4? And she says, you know, I make sure I really respond to my teachers. I mean, I respond very quickly to my parents. I take initiative. And maybe she has another item right here where she says that she reaches out with a maybe a newsletter every month. And she could click that there. Then we would go through and say, all right, where do you think you land on family culture? This is a collaborative effort. My job is to just simply support and to guide and to coach. And we could then decide, you know, your family culture is looking pretty good. I think it's about a 2.5. You may not see every single component. I didn't actually put any evidence right here just for this demonstration. So I'm going to move on to student relationships. I think she does a great job to build student relationships. After we've talked about this, we can say, well, you know, you're doing pretty good on the teacher parent. Maybe you've got a little thing here and there to work on. Physical environment looked great. Maybe it's a 2, maybe a 2.5. Again, this is what you'll want to discuss with a teacher. Universal proactive supports, I think she had about a 2. And then transitional supports, you know, she did great. Give her a 3 on that. And then, you know, again, you're not going to see everything in a 15 or 20-minute visit, but the things that you do see, you want to then map out and be able to discuss with a teacher, give it a rating. And then once you've gone through this with a teacher and you've talked it through, you want to then show the portfolio with a click of a button. You then have an overall visual of how that teacher is doing in the classroom. If this is the first time you've done an observation, this becomes your baseline. And then you can go back and you can visit maybe in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And then throughout the school year, you can see what areas of improvement that the teacher is making, what areas maybe she's not making. And this gives the teacher also the guide and to be able to say, wow, you know, I did great on this, but I'm still a 2 on here. I probably should go and look into Classroom180, read a little bit up on that. I'll start on page 254. This also gives you the overall of each of the domains, how many components. There are 3 out of the 4 components that we were able to observe under the first domain, 3 out of the 7 on the second domain as well. So this gives you then the overall sort of understanding of where that teacher is. The whole idea of this rubric is to give you an assessment, an evaluation tool. And I don't even like using the word evaluation, but just to know if a teacher says, yes, I'm trauma informed. How do you know? How do you know that teacher is trauma informed? This rubric gives you that ability then to be able to identify exactly where you are on your journey to becoming trauma informed. So you can use this as a tool for administrators doing observations for teachers. You can do it for teachers working with teachers and lots of variations around that. So I hope this little demonstration gives you an understanding of the power of using the rubric and to understand where you are on this journey of becoming trauma informed. If you want more information about this, just contact me. My information is down at the bottom here, but also you can contact me just at info@beyondconsequences.com. Love to hear from you, and I hope you are doing well on your journey, supporting your teachers and your staff, and of course, your students. So thank you.